Welcome to another episode of Expected Buffalo the Offering. And we have a fun, not about fun, we have a playoff team currently to talk about here with the Buffalo Sabres after a 3 game trip out west where they took all 6 points, sweeping California with wins against Los Angeles, Anaheim, and San Jose. It's a different spot than we've been in for sure the last few years to this point. There's been some good windows, of course, right in the last few years, where they're in the 10 game winning streak and some of the stretches where they look like they could be a legitimate team and just fizzled and not there anymore. I feel like things are a little bit different this time around for a few reasons, and we're going to get into that in a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability, something that's come up a lot. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I do want to focus a little bit on what happened in California um, with that 3 game winning streaks. Well, not a 3 game winning streak, but winning those three. What is a 3 game winning streak? They're winning those 3 games. Um, First and foremost, shout out to the goaltenders. Luukkonen was great in the 2 games that he played, and then you had an excellent performance in his Sabres debut from James Reimer on Saturday night in San Jose. Um, that you could argue stole those 2 points right out of San Jose on Joe Thornton night. So credit to them, kudos to them. That's a good sign for the Sabres moving forward that they have 2 goaltenders they can rely upon now. And that's not a shot at Devin Levi. Just I think we talked about this last episode we did, that it makes sense that he's in the AHL now. That's best for him. He's going to get his games, he's going to get his opportunities, and then he can continue to develop. It's better than playing 1 game or 2 games in 20 days. That's not what he needs right now at his age, and still just doesn't seem ready for the NHL level yet. And that's fine. 22 years old, you don't have to be. Go down, keep working on your game, and come back when the opportunity strikes. That's for sure. The other good part is taking 2 points. Or I'm sorry, taking 6 points without Tage Thompson. That is certainly encouraging. They took 4 of the 5 games that Thompson missed. They won 4. They won 4 of the 5. I'm really similar to my words here. They're going to get him back tomorrow night against the Minnesota Wild, so that's good. But I was concerned, and it did show a little bit, generating offense consistently and scoring without him in the lineup. But they were able to push through it, and that's what good teams do at the end of the day. There's going to be injuries. It's an 82-game season. It's a long season. You have to be able to work through that. You have to be able to win games and not fall off a cliff when you lose good players. The Maple Leafs are doing it without Austin Matthews. You have to be able to do that. And they did. And now they're going to get him back, and they're rolling as it is, and should only help you move forward. And working off of that is Yuri Kulik. He got the opportunity to play center in the 3 games in California. He looked really good in all of those games. His minutes went up. He had the overtime winner against Anaheim, generated offense. And I think looking at the numbers when I looked, his line with Quinn and mostly Jason Zucker was the top line in California on that trip to generate offense, shot quality for, expected goals. So that was good. I don't say skeptic, but I still don't know. I don't know if he projects long term as a center in this league. I would have been willing to continue to ride that out with how it went. I do think he looked more comfortable playing center. The puck was on his stick more, and I think that is where he is effective for sure. He needs to have the puck on his stick. He's not really a player that I think can generate offense or be effective just finding spaces and getting the puck past him. I think the play in a sense needs to run through him. And I think that's when he's playing his best, is when he's touching the puck the most. You could see his transition, his speed, his rushing, attacking the net. All of that, I think, comes to the forefront the most when he's in possession of the puck and when he's a carrier on that line. So we'll see what they do. Going off of practice lines today, I guess he's probably going back to wing, or like wing and a half. The reports from practice where he was with McLeod, and they were basically rotating, taking turns. He was playing center. I don't know that I would put McLeod on wing, even though like it didn't go great as a first line center when Tage was out. But I mean, he's not a first line center, so you would expect that. So I really would have went back to it, but they seem like they're going to go with Kulik. And yeah, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see how it shakes out. Maybe he does play center, McLeod goes to wing, and or maybe it lasts a period and they switch it up and go back to. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's one of the reasons that like I don't. I really, especially with Ruff, I don't try to get too caught up on the lines. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like a lot of what he put together. Um, for what will likely be the lineup against Minnesota, but we'll give it a shot. And he's not somebody who just continues to run with it if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then he goes back to something that has worked in the past or shakes it up again within a game. So that's an encouraging thing for sure to have that. Um, so yes, I'm not going to get eaten up over it. We'll see how it goes and how things shake out, and then I think we can start to get an idea, how this lineup is going to move forward consistently. I think Jack Quinn potentially coming out of the lineup is a rough one. If I'm being honest, it's not something I would have said 2 weeks ago. The reason I'm saying it's a rough one because that is when he should have sat 2 weeks ago. I think coming out of the road trip here, he was looking the best that he's looked all season consistently, and that's going to be rewarded now with a game or multiple games in the press box. So it's going to be a little bit frustrating for him. They really do need to get him going for them to, I think, generate the offense they're going to need to consistently throughout the season. They need somebody else to step up, and I think that if you can get him back to what he was doing, attacking the net on the rush, using his vision a little bit more, using his speed a little bit more, his skating, seeing the confidence build. I think if you can really get that going, that'll be helpful for them. So I don't think it'll be that long that he is going to sit. I think they're trying to work through some stuff. But yeah, I would say it's a little bit rough for him to sit now when things have been going so well for him. So let's flip the conversation here to sustainability. So that's something I've been asked a lot over the last couple days to a week. Is what they're doing right now sustainable? It's a loaded question. So in evolving hockey's model, they're 26th in 5-on-5 expected goal differential. It's not good. Their goal differential overall at 5-on-5 is much better, and so is their shot share at 5-on-5. So let me flip here to 5-on-5. They are 12th in the league in goal differential at 5-on-5, and they are 8th in the league in shot share at 5-on-5. So, I mean, that goes into the whole narrative that it's been offensively. And I really don't want to keep beating the same dead horse on that, so I'll quickly mention it. But they're getting shots from mostly poor areas, so that's why your shot quality is low. But they're still finishing at a high rate. So at the end of the day, it's kind of the chicken and the egg, right? You're scoring those goals still at a pretty high rate. I think they are 10th or 11th in 5-on-5 goals for per 60 minutes in the league. That's not bad at all. But that's maybe the one thing where I question the sustainability is because finishing can have its ups and downs, and if you're not generating the quality of offense that you need to or that you should, I think they're 27th in expected goals for per 60 at 5-on-5, which is pretty bad, and that's very un-Lindy team like. But anyways, it's not a sign that you can continue to score at a high level. So if that's going to stay that way, what's going to happen is you're going to have some games where they score 4-5, 4-5, and then you're going to get a stretch where it's 1-2, 1-1, 2-2, 2. And in those games, you're going to have your goaltender be great to steal some points for you. Scoring one goal is going to be rough. So maybe those ones are a little less frequent than I did there. But it's maybe the only thing really here that I question the sustainability for it. I think their expected goal differential overall is going to improve when Thompson's back. I think they got beat up a little bit on the trip, but I think that'll rebound here as we start to move forward. Now, having said that, there's some good teams on your schedule here, so we'll see how much that rebounds. Um, but everything else that I see, like the expected goals against, it's right in the it's about league average. I think that could be sustainable. The goaltending has improved, and it's hard for me to not say that's sustainable when Luukkonen did it last year, and we're seeing him return to that form now, uh, and be the goaltender he was last year. Now he's consistently playing, and if Reimer's going to play the way he did in that debut, it's not going to be every start. Don't get me wrong. But if, for the most part, if you can get that type of performance, or at least a little bit less than that, then you're going to be fine from a goaltending aspect. Then your finishing is going to be there too. This is the team that finishes at a high rate overall, besides last year when they had some injuries and just things weren't going their way. But overall, they're a high finishing team, and that's what they're going to do, and that's going to kind of override what they're doing from a shot quality perspective. So that's good and encouraging. And then you have your special teams, which is pretty interesting. When I was looking to the numbers before um, the podcast here, so I'm going to start with special teams because if you remember, if you're a Twitter follower, when I talked about the goaltending and I talked about the special teams overall, maybe 3 weeks ago, um, one of the things that I called out in terms of the goaltenders is the poor save percentage on the penalty kill. I think they were near the bottom of the league in that regard, and their expected goals against on the penalty kill was actually pretty high. Um, Now that's flattened out a little bit in terms of their expected goals against for 60 on the penalty kill. They've dropped to 15. I think before they were sitting around like maybe even like 2 or 3. But it's gone down to 15. So they're giving up a little bit more quality. But what has come together is their on ice save percentage on the penalty kill. So I believe they were near the bottom of the league. I don't want to say last, but right there. They've jumped now to 10th in the league in shorthanded save percentage at 87.19%. So that's a bit of a jump, and that's a good thing. So if your shot quality is going to go more back to the average part, which I kind of expect probably for this team, but your goaltending is going to then rise to the top there. That still overall meshes for a good penalty kill system as long as you're not getting crushed in terms of shot quality against, and they're not. Um, and they've done a good job killing off penalties. I can't remember the last time they've given up a power play goal. Knock on wood. So hopefully, this next few games we don't see that start happening. But that's good. It's promising to see. And again, that goes into sustainability. If your special teams, in terms of your penalty kill, especially, is going to be a little above average. In this case, they're well above average, but I think I don't have it right in front of me, but I think their overall league standing in terms of penalty kill percentage is pretty good. So if you're going to get that, then you can deal with some other shortcomings maybe you have at 5-on-5. Then we get to the power play. By the way, the Sabres are 12th in penalty kill percentage at 80%. So that's good. If you stick right around there, that's fine. Perfectly fine. So definitely take that. But the power play is one that is an interesting story, if you will, to go through. So they're 21st right now at 17.5% league wide. So it seems, unlike the penalty kill, it seems like they're scoring a power play goal almost every game now, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's still, when you watch that power play, you're just like, there's not a lot going on. The goals that are going in are long shots from Darlene. They're deflections. There's nothing that's like not a play. There's not a quick moving play, goes from here to there, boom, backdoor guy, wide open tapping. That's not what their power play has been. They really try to force things to that bumper spot, or they, point shots, outside shots, rebounds, deflections. That's what they're living off of. And their shot quality 4 on the power play is 25th in the league right now. Not great. but they've jumped in terms of their goals per six in the power play to 22nd. I believe they were at one point even last. Well, obviously they were last because they had no power play goals. So they've jumped to 22nd at 6.14 goals for per 60 minutes in the power play. So you're climbing. You're climbing. Again, this gets back to the discussion of above average finishing team. I think this is a little bit different in the sense that some of the goals are a little bit lucky, if you will, and it's not just you're beating a goaltender clean a lot. It's not just a straight shooter having a nice shot, and so I think you're going to need to clean that up. I think you're going to need to try to generate more plays, try to generate easier looks, not deflections, not just whoa, Darlene ripped the bomb from the point that went in. I think they still have to work on creating easier looks for that unit. There still needs to be more movement. It's a lot of stagnant, a lot of standing around puck from point A, B, C, B, A, B, B, C. Like it's really a triangle. There's not a lot of usage of the other players on the ice. They're in different areas of the ice besides the sidewalls and the top of the point. So they really got to get that going. That's got to still improve. The good news is, I guess, your finishing is helping you and carrying you along in that regard. But there's some work to be done there. So overall, again, bringing it back, I think this is a team that I think this is a team that is going to be there in the end. I said that a couple weeks ago. I'm so comfortable with that. I think we're going to see some of their numbers improve here with getting some of the players back. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be some rough nights. There could be some poor stretches. I'll say that. But I don't see anything here that would give me alarm. If this was last season and Lukin was having the start that he's having here, I'd be like, I don't know if that's really if he's gonna be able to maintain that. But we saw it for a full season, and now we're seeing it again. So, who am I to say now at this point that that's not a sustainable action for him? If this was a team that in the past had a really hard time scoring goals, and all of a sudden they got hot this year, I would say, well, shooting that could die at any point. But again, this is a team that has a track record and history of being a strong finishing team. So there's no reason to believe that can continue to carry them through this season. So and I think the most important thing in all of this is the Eastern Conference itself. It's down this year. Third place in the Atlantic is up for grabs. Now Tampa Bay's playing better. So maybe it's not as clean as it looked a couple of weeks ago, but Boston is having their struggles. Ottawa's having struggles. The Red Wings are the Red Wings. The Flyers haven't found their groove. The Islanders are floundering down. The Rangers are trying to trade players because they're having some struggles. So it's there. If you can just kind of start to separate yourself a little bit, which they're starting to do now, to build yourself a gap so that you don't have to win almost. I mean, not literally doing every night, but it's not a stressful thing. If you hit a 2-game skid, it's not the end of the world. Because you build yourself that gap. I think the important thing now, as we're 21, 22 games through, to remember for them and important for them is if you just don't have long losing streaks mixed in here, I think you're going to be fine. If you just consistently, 5 game, if you just get 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, and kind of keep that going, it not only just even wins, but like a points, aspect, you're going to be in a good spot. Just continue as these teams are struggling because somebody in that group is probably going to get hot and start to get going. But if you can build that gap right now, you have the opportunity, especially with the schedule coming up. I know there's some difficult teams on it, but I mean, you have Minnesota tomorrow, and then you have a weekend back-to-back, Vancouver in your house, and then you go to the island on Saturday, and then you come back home to kick off your December schedule with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games at home. Now, Colorado, Winnipeg, those are tough games. And then you have Utah, the Red Wings, and the Rangers. So again, if you can just that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 8. 5 out of 8. If you can pull 5 out of 8 out of that, I think you're in a good spot. 6 out of 8 would be great. Um, so it's just really it's the consistency that you gotta keep going here. And then I think the last thing that I want to talk about, I've gone. I didn't think I was going to go 20 minutes on the team itself. The last thing I want to talk about is some of the trade stuff because that can change the fortunes here. Uh, so I want to talk about two guys in particular that a lot of people have talked about with the recent news. So we'll start with Kreider. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, the Rangers are looking to move some guys to shake things up, and Kreider and Trouba have been two players that I've mentioned. Trouba, I have absolutely no desire in. I'm not really going to get into it. Just $8 million this year and next year. I just he's a liability defensively, and I just don't think that is a fit for what they need. Back to Kreider. So 33 years old. Has 2 more years beyond this one on his contract of $6.5 million. This is a tough one for me. So I have a little bit more hesitancy here than I think a lot of people are going to have. And the reason is, I think, is the age. So 33 years old. In that 33, 34, 35 range, you start to really potentially hit that age wall. They could come at any time. We've seen it hit for Jeff Skinner. We watched some of that last year, and it's continued over this year in Edmonton. Sometimes when you hit the wall, you just hit the wall. By the time undefeated, right? Now, Kreider is on pace for around 40 goals still. He has 9 goals through 19 games, so he's still scoring. But it's the numbers within that are making me a little bit nervous. So his individual expected goals at 5-on-5 is the second lowest that has been the last 5 years. His individual shot attempts, his individual unblocked shot attempts, second lowest last 5 years. So he's not shooting as much, and he's shooting from worse positions on the ice. And he's shooting at expected a little bit below 5-on-5 and a little bit above in all situations. So really the 9 goals are just, it's what he should have. He's shooting at a proper rate, if you will. So there's no signs there of maybe there's some bad luck and things aren't happening there. So then I went and looked at his, microstats. Maybe there's some things there where it's going to show me like, well, he's still, doing these things offensively, and that'll come through because he has no assists, which is interesting. Kreider's your goal scorer, but like there was always some playmaking there. So last year, like his shot contributions on the Rangers were pretty high. His center lane passes, center lane assists on the Rangers was pretty high relative to the rest of his team. They're all down this year. His shot contributions per 60 in Corey's tracking is near the bottom of the Rangers. His center lane assists near the bottom of the Rangers. His shots overall are down. So there's a lot of flags. Now, what I'll say is I want to carve out some time here to watch him play a little bit more because I want to throw some eye test, if you will, to the numbers I'm looking at to see really try to get an idea really what's going on there. Is it a line thing? Is it a teammate thing? Is it a system thing? Is what can I pull away? Where can I get the numbers to align what I'm seeing, or is there something that's being missed and the numbers aren't catching it properly? That's the next step here. But really, I think that where the Sabres are, there's a beggars can't be choosers, and while I have concerns overall, I wouldn't tell them or discourage you from wanting this to happen. I still think that there's areas that he can be helpful. I think he's good around the net still. His power play, I think, can still be really helpful as a power play player. That's maybe what they need. And maybe if you can just get not the 40 goal score, but can you get 25 to 30 from him still for the next year, 2 years? and then maybe you kind of just eat a bad year or a bad year and a quarter at the end of it. If it helps you break the drought, if it helps you become, get to a spot you want to get to. The concern I have getting beyond that, well, I mean, the first thing is he has trade protection. So is he going to wait to come here for the next 3 years? I think that in itself can kill the entire conversation because the answer there is probably not. But let's move beyond that. The other part that's concerning, I think, is the trade return the Rangers are looking for. So the Rangers are not in a spot where they're looking to get futures. This is a team that is arguably supposed to be in a cup window. I think Chris Drury is realizing his team has aged quicker than he thought, and that is going to be a problem. But he's not looking to get futures here by trading Chris Kreider. He's looking to shake up his team and get a roster player. So then, what does that mean? Well, I mean, if you ask Chris Drury who he wanted, I bet one of the first things he mentions is Alex Tuch. We know the Rangers called about him last year. I'm not doing that. Okay. Then it gets to Dylan Cousins or Jack Quinn or Peterka. They ask about Cousins and Quinn. Like right now, you're like, whatever. Who cares? But again, on the long term look at this too, does it make you better? Like, are you willing to give up on Jack Quinn at 23 years old to get a year maybe out of Kreider? I don't know. I don't know that I am. But at the same time, you have to do something, right? So it's a tough spot. It's not clean. It's not clean. And I think overall, like I said, it's not going to matter here with Kreider because I just don't see him waiving the no trade to come to Buffalo anyways. But I'm not. And if you're going to try to put a futures package around this, I just don't think it's going to work. I also don't think they're going to take Peyton Krebs from you. You're going to have to give up one of your top 6 forwards right now. That's what they're going to want. They're looking for a hockey trade, or you're going to say give them a defensive. I don't know, like Yoki Haru. Are they going to want that? Not for a player with control, probably not. They're not going to want a pending free agent. So I don't know. It's tough. One thing I was thinking about earlier because the Rangers are looking to make a move. The report is, and Kreider and Trouba are at the top of the list of guys they would consider moving. But is there something I don't know, spitballing? I don't know what the Rangers would think of him, but is there a Yoki Haru for Kako thing here? Now the problem with that is Kako's actually playing maybe the best he's played in New York this season. But if they really want help on the blue line, and Yoki Haru's a right shot defenseman, that could replace Trouba if they end up moving him. Something the Rangers would consider? And my guess is probably not. But maybe if you're looking for somebody off the Rangers roster, you would look in that area, not necessarily the big guys, but maybe that second tier, and see if you can find some sort of hockey swap there. The other guy that I want to talk about is Juracek. So it seems like the Jackets are close based on reports of getting something done there. My thing here is you're getting another defenseman that is quite similar to what you have already in Power and Byram, and to a lesser extent, Delly. I don't know if making this move helps them now. So Juracek's going to want to come in. He's going to want to play. He's going to want NHL minutes. That's one of the reasons he's getting done from Columbus because they're not playing him in the NHL, which red flag. A team giving up on a right-handed top 10 pick so quickly and just simply don't think he's ready to play in the NHL is certainly a concern. Be it Columbus or not, teams ride that out. So, I mean, I guess I could say this general manager didn't draft him, so he's whatever. There's no tie to him. But still, they're pretty willing to move him. So that gives me a little bit of concern. But as I was saying, does this really help you now? he's not somebody I think that you could play with Owen Power right now. I don't think he can handle those minutes in the NHL. So it's not improving you. His exits are poor in this league. He's below average defending. If you're somebody who does not like Owen Power, lack of physicality for a big defenseman, you're going to be getting another 6'3" defenseman that has more finesse and just doesn't. He hits a little bit more than Power. I think Power is like 1.4 hits per 60, and Juracek's at 2.5. Still bottom of the league in both regards, but you're getting another big defenseman who just isn't going to hit. He's not going to be physical. He's going to be similar type. He is a less offensively effective Owen Power, if you will, and worse at passing. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's and look, like right shot defensemen are hard to get a hold of. There are not many that are available, and they need one. So I understand from their perspective if they're really involved in this and why they think this could work. Now, if you want to take Isak Rosén and you want to flip him for Juracek, okay, fine, sure. If you want to take Ryan Johnson and flip him for Juracek, fine. But I'm not sure that's what Columbus is looking for. I think Columbus might be looking for somebody like Anton Wahlberg, and I don't have any interest in that. I just don't. I just don't think that Juracek gives you enough and impacts your team right now. Realistically, if he plays in the NHL, he's a third pair defenseman. He replaces Clifton or Bryson on your third pair right now. I don't think he's knocking Yoki Haru out. And I think what they should be going for, obviously, is something that's going to help right now. They can still do a Juracek move and something else. Of course they can. But there's just a lot of concerns there. When I watch, obviously, a lot of Amherst games, and they play Cleveland a lot, I don't ever leave a game being like, man, Juracek really jumped out. Just don't. And when I watch him in the NHL, just doesn't jump. He doesn't catch your attention. And that's not to say he's 20 years old. It's not to say he couldn't develop into something, but I just think if you have hopes of getting him and putting him in your top four, you're going to be disappointed. It's not. I don't think it's going to make your team that much better. You're not going to. They need a veteran defenseman to play with Power. You can't. I mean, you're going to add a 20-year-old to this mix, make your blue line even younger. It just doesn't. A lot of it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make a ton of sense when you really get into it. On one hand, the other side of right shot defenseman, hard to get. If there's a decent one out there you want to take a flyer on that doesn't cost you a lot, sure, fine, great, grand, go for it. But in terms of really making a difference to your team this season, I don't see it there. And that gets to the difficult part of, when you're going through all this trade stuff is what are the other ideas? There's not a lot of great ones, to be perfectly honest. It's tough right now because everybody is so close still in the standings that nobody's really out of it. Besides like 2 or 3 teams. And those 2 or 3 teams don't have a great roster, so you really don't want anybody off of those teams anyways. So that makes it difficult. So, I wrote down a couple of guys. Connor Murphy from Chicago. He has 1 year remaining at 4.4. 1 year after this season at $4.4 million. Now, trade protection, that's going to be an issue. But where Chicago is, would he look forward to the opportunity of playing for a team that's competing for a playoff spot with a better defense group, and you can maybe I don't know. It's hard for me to say competitor because we don't know if they are or not. Yeah, I think they are, but the other players in the league think that they are too. That's the question. But really, beyond that, for a right shot defenseman, it's slim pickings. If they wanted a left shot, I would definitely be all over Patterson from Pittsburgh, but I find it hard to believe they're going to add another left shot defenseman when Ruff has really hammered home a few times. He doesn't like the mismatch pairs left or righty. He doesn't like it. So I really can't see them bringing in another lefty. So that takes some guys out of the picture. From a forward perspective, and we talked about Kreider. There's some other names out there. Michael Bunting, Alex Kerfoot are a few you could think about. Morgan Frost name is out there from Philadelphia. It's tough. it's difficult. I mean, Kreider right now might be the most high profile name out there realistically available. I think a lot of the other stuff that you're looking at is I've talked about it before. You're looking at Jason Zucker levels, which isn't the worst thing. It's not terrible. This team probably could use another Jason Zucker, to be perfectly honest, and that's probably what Bunting and Kerfoot and Gustav Nyquist we talked about before. Maybe that's something that falls into that, but I don't know if Nashville's going to do that now. They traded Tomasino. That maybe would have been a player I'd like to get my hands on, but now he's in Pittsburgh. We'll see. Ryan Donato maybe is somebody you can consider too, but kind of thing. So I don't know. I think that they're in a spot right now that we're gonna just kind of play this out here. As we cross more days off the calendar, we get into December. Maybe some more teams want to make moves, get desperate, think that they're out of it. Some more players shake free, and they can do something then. Having said all that, they'll probably make a trade tomorrow now, and I just put all that out there. But yeah, it would be nice. It's still in the spot where it'd be nice if they could do something now to reward this team for where they are, to help push them over the edge, continue to go, to keep striving forward. Whether it be a defenseman or it be a forward, I am open to either one. I believe they're looking at both options, so they're not just looking at forwards. I think they're also considering defense options too. So we'll see. We'll see what Adams comes away with. Thanksgiving is upon us here, and the Sabres are likely going to find themselves in a playoff spot still on Thursday. So, especially the way I think tonight went, a lot of teams around them losing. So that's good. That's where you want to be. That's kind of the cutoff if you want to be around the playoff picture by Thanksgiving, realistically around, either in or within a point or two, to really be a competitor moving forward for the remaining 60 games. So, 37 minutes. Something the longest I've ever gone by myself. We really got into some stuff there, so that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family. Enjoy watching the sports, the football, the hockey, the basketball that's on, and we will talk soon. Hopefully, 3 games in 4 nights. That's a tough ask, but 2 of the 3 are at home, so that's encouraging. Hopefully they don't fall into that trap on tomorrow against Minnesota. That first game back after West Coast trip is always kind of tough, but we'll see. We'll see. So thanks for listening. We will talk again soon, and I'll see you.